Love finances the other F word and want to support the show? Become a patron by going to patreon.com/FTOFW. You'll get special features, a shout out on the air, and early releases. Or if you prefer, pick up some merchandise at financestheotherfword.com.
As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, as wonderful an attorney as I am, and as good as Stormy is at whatever it is he does, please do note that anything said in our podcasts are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, Stormy Andrews, founder of Yokel Local Marketing, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
So we'll go ahead and get this started. So
okay, how about we get started?
Hey, how about we get started? Are you ready to get started, Zoe?
Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we get started?
Let's get started. Hey guys, we're getting started. It's Finances the Other F Word, and this is our 300th episode. Now, for those, yes, what Zoe's doing across the screen right now, and what story? Hey, shocker!
Oh no, he's
story.
trying to make 300 into some kind of sexual.
Do the shocker.
Oh, the shock! There it is.
Hell yeah! One in the pink. Or what is it? No, I'm sorry, I have it wrong.
One in the pink. Oh no, two in the pink, one in the stink.
Two in the pink, one in the stink. Yep. So it's nice to know we're still very crude. No, two fingers, and then like this. No, you don't open them. I mean, unless you're a whore. But yeah, I mean, polite women do get it this way, not this.
We couldn't see yours.
Yeah, we didn't see yours.
We didn't see
that's
your hands.
Fine.
But we
I
got
think
the
we
point.
can. Yeah.
You didn't see my.
I think
hand?
it was that and that, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, no, I was doing it down here.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't help you there. So for those of you who have been following the episodes lately, you'll see that we have 301, 2, 3 episodes have already dropped. There's been some little scheduling conflicts, and we wanted to make sure that we enjoyed this one thoroughly. And so now you're getting it at 300. And I just played the very first. Yes, thank you, Zoe.
Just so we're all clear on that.
Yes,
Every time you say 300, I want to say, "This is Sparta."
Ooh. Yeah, I think we talked about, yeah. So I had this really cool thing. I was like, oh, it was like, The Simpsons had this episode extravaganza where it was like this whole big thing and they had all these clips and all this stuff. And I thought, man, that'd be so cool. And then I'm like, yeah, I ain't fucking doing that. I don't got time. When we get a production team for like episode 500, then we'll do all that shit. But I was like, fuck that. We're just going to have to talk about it. But I did, before we started, I did literally just listen to, for the very first time since I got it edited and on, our Fire Festival episode. So couple things. Number one,
terrible.
That not as bad as you got. No.
I did say we, not you.
Oh, okay. Good recovery. That I realized something very important out of that. Number one, that was the only episode Stormy ever researched for. Ever.
and then he said,
talking about. And he knew, no, he watched the documentary. As a matter of fact, he watched both documentaries on Fire Festival, one on Hulu, one on Netflix. And you and I had only watched Netflix. There was a whole discussion about it.
So he out-researched us, you mean?
He out-researched us. And then he blew his wad on the first episode. And then he's never been able to recover since then. And the second thing I realized is that I was talking faster than I normally talk, which is saying something.
I was going to say, is that possible?
Yeah. And the edit was like, I remember editing that episode and being so fucking terrified that it sounded not good because there was ums in there and there was breathing, of course. And then the very first time I edited that episode, I lost everything. I lost the whole fucking episode. And I ended up having to redo it. And that was a fucking bitch. And then we were talking about at the Fire Festival. Remember when everybody got trapped on the island and then they started going around, those douchebags running around and started destroying the tents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things we talked about is how there was this one asshole who stole all the toilet paper.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we were like, what kind of fucking idiot would steal all this toilet paper? And then I'm like, oh shit, who knows? Who would have known? Like a year and a half later, we'd be dealing with quarantine and assholes stealing toilet paper. So I thought that was hilarious. And we had referenced that it had just broke that R. Kelly had been arrested.
Interesting.
Yeah. And at the time, I was asking why Ja Rule was never not going to be held responsible. And of course, in the subsequent months that played out, he was never held responsible. So I started thinking back about everything. So when we first recorded the episode, we were in the studio. We are moving back in the studio within the next couple weeks. So the quality will get a little bit better. When quarantine first started, I was trying to make things easier. Ooh, and I'm slapping my mic. Trying to make things
Yeah.
here, right.
Listen to that quality. Oh, now
That's
she's
right.
slapping it with a boob.
Smacking it with my boobs, but I had to get real close to the mic to do that. But and I thought, man, what all has happened since then? So we were in Stormy's old studio. Then quarantine happened. Then we had to move into our Zoom hubbles, and then we've been here for a number of months, and we're moving back in the studio. Got a book released. Stormy got his book released, and then got on a Kill Pop Radio.
I got a divorce.
You got a
I got a divorce.
thing. We were still talking about your wife.
Yep.
And we were saying Sandra, and I don't have the visual on that, but the thing is that I'm sure you looked stupid as hell with your no hair and your crazy ass dressing. So for those of you who have not followed Stormy, he has really stepped it up blossomed in the clothing game. But yes, he was still married. So Stormy got divorced. Quarantine happened. 2 books got released. We moved out of the studio. We moved into our houses. Now we're going back into the studio.
And look, for those of you watching on video, you can see I'm in the studio now.
Yes. So that
where we will be soon.
Right. After Mel gets her second vaccination shot. And then it will be Party Time Excellent, where Zoe and I will be drinking again before the shows, which we did for every time we recorded, and we tried to hide it. But now, we've drank so much during quarantine, I don't think it really matters anymore. And so let's reflect on our time on the show. First of all, we made it to episode 300, which was Stormy's cutoff.
Yeah.
That if we hadn't picked up any speed by episode 300, we would just say fuck it and call it quits. And here we are.
Now, when is our 300th episode?
It's right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Technically, this is probably like our 304th episode, but it's fine. It's the 300 episode. It's like, sometimes how they do a Halloween episode November 1st. That's what we got going on right now. So it's totally fine. So
that's about my
Zoe.
There it is.
200 and something belch for you. So I saved that one.
Yeah, that was disgusting, and you probably have some of that in your mouth. So Stormy, since I know you have thoroughly researched our episode list, most that you have not been on, but what would you say would be the best episode that you loved that we recorded
besides this one?
But yes, because there's been other episodes besides this one. Yes,
there's been other episodes besides this one.
299 of them, in fact.
It's kind of tough when we have the Men Who Built America. That whole series was pretty awesome, even though that wasn't one podcast episode. But I think I got to say, Being Black in America.
Now that went over the economics of discrimination, just the Being Black in America.
Yeah, the economics of just the I don't remember the name of the episode, but the one that myself and Derek were on.
That was Being Black in America. Yeah,
that's the one I picked it. See,
yeah, that's
I like that one.
And then like 5 episodes later, we did the economics of discrimination, where he did a deep dive. So why was that your favorite?
It was just in, the topic. I was able to get into a little bit of my story, not that it's all about me, but it's just an interesting story.
That all about you. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's all about me, that's why it was my favorite, because it was all about me. Mm-hmm. I can't believe you had Derek on the show. What the hell?
I know, but no, tell me, because you got to get into your story. We lost Zoe somewhere.
Yeah. Where did Zoe go?
There she is.
Sorry.
No, I think everyone has an interesting story, but at that particular time, not that things have really changed that much today, but just the dynamic and the world's it's changing. There's a book that I'm reading right now called Post Corona, and you'll see where I'm going with this. But in Post Corona, one of the things that he talks about is the fact that the world accelerated by 10 years over this coronavirus, meaning that with a lot of people working from home, that was going to happen in about 10 years, but it just transformed immediately over the course of a year. There were lots of winners, and then there were lots of losers. So organizations that were probably going to be on their way out in 10 years are on their way out today. And race relations has been something that's always been important to me, near and dear to my heart, because of my particular upbringing. So that particular show, being able to share that story, talk with Derek, hear his story, you dived into your story. You know what I mean? So that particular topic just happens to be a subject matter that is just near and dear to my heart. And I see lots of changing in the world that's happening right now. In regards to the dynamics of demographics and population. So it's interesting to see how all this plays out every day, how some people are accepting it. Some people are fighting it. Some people, it's just a very interesting dynamic, and that I don't want to say I enjoy watching, but it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting case study this time frame when they look back on this 100 years from now.
So do you have an unfavorite episode, Stormy?
Ooh, an unfavorite episode. Oh, another favorite episode. I really like the episode where I learned about Glastonbury, where just because I realized that there's shit concerts that happen everywhere.
And that was our first episod when you and I both found out about Glastonbury. I just listened to that.
Yeah, we both of us found out about Glastonbury. Hearing about Zoe's adventure in the mud in the comedy tent. Mm-hmm. That was kind of fun. So that was also another fun episode. I thought it was a blast. You know what? I got to say another episode that I like. I'm just going to go to my favorites because I don't know if I have a least favorite, but when we had Adelita's Way on here, learning about the music industry, the nuggets that he dropped just blew my mind. I always wanted to be an artist, but now he single-handedly changed my mind, and I decided not to cut a record. And you guys heard me sing before. I do pretty good at it.
Thank you so much to Rick to Jesus.
Yeah.
For that.
I miss our lip syncing videos. Those are fucking
that was fun.
Yeah, those are fun.
When we get back in the studio, we can do that again.
Absolutely. I would like that. So least favorite episode. Wow.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
That is a tough one. It's my least favorite. It's probably one of the episodes that Zoe's on.
Mm-hmm. Which is most of them. So that's kind of tough.
Yeah, that makes it.
Can you narrow it down?
Yeah.
My least favorite? Mm-hmm. No, because I don't think about that's like what's my least favorite food? Shit, I don't know. I don't think about it. I think about my favorite food, but my least favorite, I just don't think about stuff like that. So I've got no fucking clue. So quit asking me stupid ass questions.
Because you don't know the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to my least favorite. I really don't. Like, what's your least favorite TV show? I don't know.
Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son was Lamont. Are you kidding me? Sanford and Son's ridiculous.
I liked Good Times, but Sanford and Son was the whole heart attack. I'm coming to see you. Whatever.
But wait a second. How could that be your least favorite? There's a lot of bad TV shows, and you're going to say Sanford and Son?
That's the one who came to my head.
Oh yeah. See, that's the whole problem because I know that's not your least favorite.
And Zoe wasn't on it, so all those things were right there.
Gotcha.
So Zoe, what was your least favorite episode?
Well, clearly my least favorite was Las Vegas Hustles because I wasn't on it.
See, she knew it. She knew it right there.
She knew it.
Actually,
I gotcha.
It was a pretty funny episode.
Episode 40. For those who don't bother because I'm not on it. So don't bother going back. It's not worth it. I wasn't there. I think I was in England. So yeah, it's just not worth it from what I remember not hearing.
Actually, I don't think you were in England. I think because on the first episode, you had just returned from England.
Oh.
So unless you went to England like twice back to back.
No.
Quick succession. So it was probably not. So what was your favorite or favorites episode? The-
My favorites, plural. Well, I've enjoyed educating the Americans muchly. So it's funny that Stormy would bring it up, but I've enjoyed educating you about Glastonbury and Eurovision, which is coming up, by the way.
Hardly
And you remember. So all things pertaining to things overseas that you might not have heard about. I've enjoyed that. So in particular, episode 16, when we did a deep dive into James Bond, James Bond is so quintessentially, oh, it's so British. And so I loved it that we devoted an episode to that. I'm fucking over waiting for the next James Bond movie. It's now supposed to be October. And I'm also over trying to second guess who's going to be the next James Bond. Idris Elba would be fine by me. Tom Hardy would be fine by me. But I just like to know. So the James Bond movie James Bond episode was one of my favorites. And that's number 16 for all of you who'd like to go back and be educated. Another one of my favorites, for some good reasons and bad reasons, is Music Memorabilia number 17. Now, firstly, it's one of my favorites because I think it just is so money and music, right? Of course, music memorabilia. But then I had one of those moments that we all have. I remember, as a kid, when you do something naughty, you're at the dinner table, you're told off, and you just can't stop laughing. And it would be me looking at my sister, and we knew that we had to stop laughing or we were going to get into bigger trouble, but you just can't. And that was me on the Music Memorabilia about Schindler's List. And I want to start laughing again. And it's terrible because it's not funny, but because it was not funny, I couldn't stop laughing. So that always just kind of gives me a little giggle to remember about.
I'm trying to think, is that on? Let me look to see if that one made it to YouTube, because if so, then you guys can all enjoy. It did. So it finally got on YouTube. It aired July 4th of 2019, that episode, and it finally got on YouTube March 25th of 2020. So you can see her giggling about Schindler's List. And
I mean, what's not to laugh about that for a start? But I mean, yeah, just one of those really naughty moments where you know it's not funny, and you've got to stop, but you can't stop. And that was that. I've also just loved almost all of the interviews we've done. We've been so lucky to have some just great guests. I love me some Brennan Store, as you know. So but yeah, the Music Memorabilia and the James Bond have been two of my favorites. But whenever we get to have a guest on, Kevin recently, he was a bit of all right, and that was really interesting. It's just great that people will give of their time and just been fascinating, all the different people that we've interviewed. So that's my little 10 pence worth.
And we have we're interviewing Rory today, who will air after this episode airs, and he was the keyboardist for Michael Jackson on the Bad Tour. Plus he has a whole bunch of other stuff going on, so I'm super excited about that. I'm going to be changing shirts to rock my I Love Michael Jackson shirt on there. So when I look back on the show, the amount of time and energy it's took to get us to this place is kind of crazy and reflective for me, because I did the music morsel for a hot minute, which I really loved, but it was the sharp ratio on that fucker sucked so bad because I'd have to research for hours to record like a minute, and I just thought, this is fucking stupid. So now I have all of this extra music facts that are just piled up that I'm like, fuck it, I'm not doing it. So we ended up pulling that little segment, but that was one of my favorite segments. And we added the music and money news, which we've been able to keep up. And, there's a lot of podcasts that got thrown by the wayside when COVID hit.
Right.
And there's a lot of hosts that have started to abandon shows when COVID hit. And, we managed to make it work. I mean, this is not the ideal thing doing it by Zoom, but right now I'm in my pajama bottoms, which is fucking great. They're owls wearing little stocking caps and sweaters. So that part I'm really a fan of, but just the amount of time and work. And I guess what I didn't expect to get out of this was that I've become so much of a better advisor because of it, because I've had to research like the gold standard, which is irrelevant really in the industry right now because it was something that was in the past. But I got to understand that, and then I had to go back doing even further history. And so every time I do research on a subject, it leads me down a path to do research on something else. And I found that all of the research that I've had to do between shows that we've done and between Money Newses has literally made me a much better advisor. And the things that I've had to go and research and relearn, that there's stuff in the back of my brain, and then to have to put that in a format where A, I got to make sure I really know what I'm talking about. B, I need to make sure that it's in some type of coherency as I'm going through it. And C, I got to not fucking bore people to death. And literally, I have just learned so much that I had learned as part of my licensing in CFP, and then I had forgotten because you don't use it anymore. And I think that even though that's the biggest part of the work on the show, well, actually, I guess the editing, the production's the biggest part, but the research is like the second biggest part. I'm thankful for that in a lot of ways. And I mean, of course, I love the Men Who Built America episode series, which we talk about all the time, just because I didn't realize how many of the rules in my industry came from these fuckers who basically bent people over back in the late 1800s. And because of that, we've had to, modify everything to try to put protections on people. And now we have all this other stuff coming in that there's just a big thing with Bitcoin was I can't say too much, had a volatile day yesterday, and the Fed was in the middle of doing a hearing and is trying to figure out how to regulate it. And so when you listen to the Men Who Built America series, there's a whole bunch of parallels between what they were doing then that weren't regulated to our times today. And so I always love that series. The Economics of Discrimination series I loved because as I said in the series, when you realize that there has been systemic economic discrimination within the system towards people of color, when you see it, when it's not a bias anymore, when it's not an assumption, when it's in fucking black and white, then there's nothing more to say. I mean, it's there. And so that was a eye wide open for me. The other one was our series on the nonprofit that Zoe and I did. That was a 4-part series on churches. Specifically, we actually did in the very last series, episode of that series, we did talk about some of the other big nonprofits, Salvation Army and et cetera. But the biggest things were the big mega churches that we touched on, and the Mormon church and the Catholic church. And I'm surprised we didn't get hate mail off of that, to be honest with you. But it didn't change my faith in God at all, but it made me look at those people with a little bit more disdain, and just realizing that things like that are the contributors between the haves and have-nots. And if anything, it's kind of made my resolve deeper. The fact that I really fucking hate the 1% taking advantage of the 99%. And with the social media aspect of everything, there's just like lambs being led to the slaughter for the enrichment of these jackasses that are the 1%. And in the Men Who Built America episode, that's exactly what Rockefeller and Carnegie and JP Morgan did. Chase, they did exactly that. And they got the workers to vote against their best interest by scaring them, by using, fear of missing out, and by holding over their head that, they weren't going to have enough money to keep them employed. And this is why I keep going back to that series so much. And I wouldn't even say it's my favorite series. I would just say that there's so many history repeating itself in there, and that series shows such a big divide between the 1% and the 99%, which is the thing that gets under my fucking skin the most. And I didn't know what I really expected from the show. I know that one of my biggest fears when we started was being afraid we couldn't think of something to talk about.
Well, that hasn't been an issue at all.
I remember before the show started, you were all freaking out and panicked about that. Like, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, we can start with your book. There's current events that happen every day. And yeah, that was funny, actually.
Yeah, I mean, and still, so now I have a backlog of like anytime an idea comes to me or Zoe texts me an idea, I put it in like our folder of things, and I've had to go there a couple times and pull some stuff out. But that part eventually did get a lot easier. I think that the best episode that mirrored music and money, though, for me would be the David Bowie Bond episode. Because, yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, not to cut in, but I'm gonna. Just that I have learned so much over this past couple of years. I mean, I've said it right from the start that I am not finance minded. I can't even balance a checkbook. But I really have learned so much over this past couple of years, and that the Bowie Bonds thing was fascinating to me, and it was one of my favorites too. So carry on.
Yeah, and it was so early. I mean, it was episode number 20, and it was so early in the show. But I mean, when you look at how people can be strategic with money as a means to an end, and he didn't fuck nobody, he didn't screw any of the 99%ers over to get his stuff. As a matter of fact, his bond issue was bought by one insurance company only, and I believe it was Prudential, and it went to maturity. They got their money, David got his money. I mean, that in like an ideal world is exactly how I feel that finances and investing should work together for the benefit of everyone. And, I'm not Elon Musk, and I can't go and fucking make it rain on everybody. And I'm not Bezos. And even if they could, clearly they're not, or they're choosing not to. I mean, when you're worth $126 billion, I mean, you could fucking write so many problems. And I know there's the whole capitalist argument that, well, he earned it. Well, yeah, I understand he earned it, but Jesus Christ, at some point, don't you have a liability to your fellow man? And this is the deal, you guys. I don't, I'm not a billionaire, so I don't have that cash flow that I can step in and fix a system, or I can do whatever. But the whole purpose of this podcast, the show, is from the beginning and is going forward, despite all the sex talk, despite all that stuff, is the fact that I just really, really want people to understand money. And a lot of the topics we talk about, you might think don't relate to you, but they fucking relate to you, because all of this shit is intertwined. And when Stormy had called me and he's like, Mel, you got to do a podcast, I was hesitant, not because I was nervous about it, but just because I thought, what if I don't have anything to say? Or what if I'm not entertaining? Well, I know it was entertaining, but what if I'm not learned enough to educate people? Or what happens if I tackle subjects that I don't know? And I can tell you a good portion of the show that we've done, I've started off not knowing shit about a subject, or I've known a phrase in it that's somewhere back in my CFP knowledge, but it never went farther than that, just getting the information in my head to try to pass the fucking test. And I was so nervous about just wondering if I had anything of value to say, and if anybody would even fucking listen to me, quite frankly. And we've had a lot of discussions between the three of us just recently that have that are still kind of swimming in my head. But when I look at when the show first started, we had a host that we posted things to, that I posted things to, and that was it. We didn't have a website yet. We didn't really have a social media presence. And now obviously we have a website, and we have a presence on, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse. We've rolled out Moment of Metal. And from that, the music news. And then from that trivia show that Zoe and I host. And it's sprouting. And I look at the numbers and I go, wow, 93 countries you know, I remember when we got our first country, which was, do you remember what country it was? Zoe, our very first country?
No, I don't.
It was Britain.
Besides,
It was Britain.
It was Britain.
oh, you guys didn't let me. You didn't give me a chance to,
Oh, I'm sorry.
guess.
What were you
Besides
gonna,
what? Besides
what were you
what,
gonna
Stormy?
say?
I was going to say besides North America, besides the United States,
Yes.
I would have gone with Britain.
Ah, okay.
And
Well,
I'm surprised because
that was the only time they ever listened.
yeah,
Now they've turned it off.
and I think it was
Now they're
actually
out.
it was my sister and niece doing a pity listen, and then they're like, "Oh, nice, bye."
Yeah,
But, yeah.
Michelle, one of my besties. All I remember is that she did the same thing. She did a pity listen to the first episode, and she's out of the whole thing. You know, I'm like, what do you think? And I'm like, you know, sweaty and nervous. And it was weird to hear myself, and I had to edit it. So I had to listen to that fucking thing, that episode, like 4 or 5 times. And I was just agonizing over everything. And now for those of you who listen to that trivia show, I don't edit shit. And there's breathing and there's really lewd language and all kinds of stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, if the sound quality is good, you're just getting it full bore, because I don't got time to fuck with it. But the only feedback Michelle gave me on that very first episode, the Fire Festival episode, was, you say influencer is weird.
Let me hear you say it.
You just said it.
Oh yeah, you said it really
She does
weird.
say it weird.
You what? How do you say
Whoa.
it? What? That's right.
Influencers.
Oh my gosh.
Influencers.
Whoa,
You say influencers.
you're
Yeah,
strange.
isn't that
That's not right.
influencers? Okay.
Not right.
Anyway,
But so,
so-
Michelle, you're right. I think she needs to go.
And Michelle, when you have Karen agreeing with you, you've got something.
Oh, fuck you. Sideways. Karen, Keren. And I just also want to just butt in as well that, as you all know, another one of my favorite episodes is anything where we mention it's Britney, bitch. But that's another great example of where music and something that's happening within the music industry, and in that case to Britney Spears, we're able to tie in that case guardianship, something that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but it just ties together, and it does bring up a great episode, you know, and great information for people that wouldn't necessarily know what it's all about. But it's really important how easy it can be to lose your say in your rights and in your finances, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all connected. And for our patrons, you heard our happy hour in May, and I was saying in there that I hoped, which the happy hours you do for patrons seems to be where I air my insecurities. But one of the things I was saying is that I hope everybody is learning something. And Stormy had said it doesn't matter if they're learning something. Some people want to learn stuff. Some people just want to tune in because it's funny, or tune in because background noise, and it doesn't matter. You know, you can't dictate those people. But my whole goal with this show is to educate you in a manner that when you're done with it, I mean, and this is the thing, and this is going to sound like I'm being a braggart, but I'm keeping it 100% with you guys with my book. The one thing everybody has told me is that they did not realize how much they learned until they got done reading it, because it was such an easy read.
Pardon me.
So
Yeah.
I'm assuming Zoe's belch is confirming.
That's
Confirmation.
it's a confirmation burp. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes.
you. That's awesome. And that's what I really want this show to be. And, you know, sometimes we're going to have ones that you might go, not for me. And then sometimes we're going to have ones that, you know, are funnier than others. And sometimes they're going to be throwaway episodes where, you know, I'm tired of shit and I don't want to fucking do anything. So we're just going to fuck off and get drunk and, you know, kind of like that trivia show. But I really hope you guys tuning in, because it takes, and I don't talk a lot about this, but it takes a lot to put this on. And I know that, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are doing shows that throw down a cell phone and they hit record and then they sit there and they talk, and then they're like, I have a podcast and I have a show. Fuck you. No, you don't. It's way, way, way more than that. And one of the things that Zoe and Stormy had mentioned when we had one of our most recent conversations is that I need to give myself a little bit more credit. And I will just tell you guys that I hope you enjoy this show, because this takes a lot of fucking work. And at the same time, I really hope you guys are learning stuff, because that's the main thing. And that got a little more mushier than I wanted it to be.
Yeah,
but
that
this
sure
is-
did get kind of mushy.
I
I
know.
thought, I thought we were going to talk about our balls. I'd rather talk about
mushy
my
anyway.
balls, because now it's getting like all mushy and like,
Yeah.
oh, not
I love you.
I know.
right.
I love you, man.
I love you. Anything else? Yeah, let's talk about Britney bitch on my balls. But this mushy shit, that's got to go. No one tuned in for some mushy shit.
Well,
Somebody might have done.
Okay,
well,
yeah.
yeah, but Mel is a rocker chick, and Sean, if you're listening, rocker chick, and she is also seriously appreciative of the listeners that we have on this show, and hopefully we will continue to put out content that you guys like and that you guys enjoy. And the next one of our extraordinary episodes, which would be episode 500, we can have a production team, and then they can go back through and dig through 500 episodes of shit, and they can pull it out, and then they can just play it for us, and then that will be our reactions to it.
And maybe they can play like a montage of fucks. That would be great. Just a montage of just like,
any.
Yeah, but just not, obviously not everyone, because we'd be here for a year, but just a selection of maybe fucks from Mel and cunts from me and balls from Stormy, all together. That would be great. We might even be able to make a song out of it, or an NFT.
NFT. I'm like, that would be a great NFT.
Yeah, it would.
It would be fuck cunt balls, or
or
it would have
whatever.
to be fuck cunt. It would have to be fuck balls. Fuck cunt balls.
Yeah.
And this is the one thing I like about the show, is that I can say that if I was doing a TikTok live right now, I would get booted for the third time. Fuck you, TikTok, with your fucking, explicit, like you think I'm soliciting sex. And so you keep kicking me off my TikTok lives when I'm just trying to be myself. Fuck you. But anyway, with that, I don't know. Is there anything else that we said we were going to talk about that we didn't talk about?
Well, kind of following on from what you're saying about how much hard work and time and energy goes into it, we wanted to give an extra special shout out to our patrons, who help Mel be able to do what she does. So without further ado, if I may I?
You may.
Okay, then we would like to just express our huge thank you to Pauline K, Woody Wood.
I like the way you said that. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. Brennan Store. Brennan, I'm rubbing my legs.
Guys.
Yeah,
Ghost
the Ghost Story guys. You must listen to that podcast if you don't already. Cara G, who is our first rock star level patron. We love you, Cara G. And to our newest patron, Lydia T. So we just want to thank you all, because it is a lot of time, energy, and effort for Mel to put this together, and you make it just a little bit easier. So thank you.
And I just want to bring on, because there is a lot of work. I've got to shave my balls before every episode.
Wow, everyone.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Pourquoi? That's why in French. Sorry, I forget myself. I'm bilingual.
Oh, to make sure they're ready just to make sure they're ready for the show. I've got to groom them, right? They've got to be in good shape so they're ready for the show. I'm like, hey, dudes, you're going on stage. Get ready.
Right. Wow.
Well, and into real stuff.
Thank goodness I don't have to do that with my bush.
No, we have 2 new countries, Zoe, to
yes,
welcome.
We do. Welcome to the FTOFW family, Bulgaria and Lithuania.
Wow, look at that.
So we continue dominating, I don't know, every country outside of the United States. So with that, I think that's about everything. I don't know what's happening right now.
Just 2 seconds.
That's about everything.
Just give me 2 seconds while I do my son's hair.
Oh, look like you were tying his shoes. I'm like, you tie his shoes?
No, I'm doing his hair. He has basketball, and he has lovely, long, luscious ginger locks, and it has to be tied back for his basketball. And he has
Wait,
not
I'm
yet.
sorry, he can't put his own fucking ponytail in?
He hasn't learned yet how to do it, and he's now going to get in a mood because I haven't done it properly. But let's have a look.
He better not get in a mood. Tell him where's
That's the look we're gonna show.
And he can put his own scrunchie in.
It's good.
More importantly, for our video
Shut the
fans.
door.
This is why we're going back in the studio.
This is why we're going back in the studio. More importantly, for our video fans, can you tell us a little bit about that unicorn behind you?
Oh, see, now if you'd been on every show, you would know already, but that is it's a cat tree, and there's a couple of cats.
A couple of
It's a
cats hanging out.
scratching post right there. It was for Lily Lou, but Lily Lou doesn't like to leave the bed, so a cat after my own heart. But that was for everyone's delight, Paddy and Belle. Another, as Mel is about to say, another reason as she rolls her eyes why we'll be going back to the studio.
At least I'm rolling my eyes and not my neck. So with that, I think we covered everything. So follow Finance is the Other F Word on all social media platforms. We have a room on Clubhouse. A Finance is the Other F Word room. That's where we do our trivia show. It is now open to Android.
Oh, since when?
Oh,
Yeah, since the 7th. They're rolling
Yay.
out different phases. So if you want to become a contestant on that trivia show where we give away good prizes, but not really good prizes, then you can text us at 775-537-4352. We're also going to be doing a little bit of change up on the voiceover. We encourage you to download Kilpop, KILPOP.com's app, as well as visit their website. They're a kick-ass radio station, which Finance is the Other F Word show is part of their Sunday programming, and we are just honored as fuck to be on there. And as always, you can buy Stormy's book, The World's Best Buyer Persona System, and you can buy my book, Finance is the Other F Word, Another F Word to Love, on Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble, and Amazon online. And with that, for our 300th episode and to 300 more, I think we are out this bitch.
Cheerio.
Thanks for listening. If you like us, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.